Guys, I have to show you something. Ooh. Ah. Seasons greetings everyone. I'm doing some book reviews today, just two little shorts. I've seen a lot of people posting that they come into the end of the year, they haven't hit their reading goal yet, and they're asking for short recommendations. So I've got some short recommendations for you, and one of them is seasonal for the Christmas Yuletide time, and then one of them isn't seasonal but I think is pretty good weather appropriate read, especially in Wales right now. Also, don't worry too much if you're not hitting your reading goal, because what does it even mean? I do set myself a little target. I think I hope to read about 60 books a year, because that's just over one per week, which I find is a manageable, reasonable goal for me. I've doubled that this year, but that's because I had that mad reading sprint when I got really stressed about finishing all my review requests back in May, I think it was. Anyway, you know, it's arbitrary. Just read for the joy of reading, and I just have a little reading target for myself, just to remind myself that I do love reading on those times where I'm sitting scrolling on my phone as if I have nothing better to do with my time, like read a good story. And speaking of good stories, this is the first one I'm going to talk about, How I Learned the Truth About Krampus by JOHNSTONE. So this is a weird little fella, this book. I don't have nearly enough Krampus stories. For someone who's a massive Christmas and horror fan, you would think that my whole of December would be completely full of Krampus, but I really haven't read many Krampus stories, and in fact I've only just realised the magic of Krampus and learned about what the folklore actually is and been highly amused by it. And I think that Tom might have given this to me, or I might have bought it. I think that Tom gave this to me at FantasyCon, coming up on the season and all that. So what's it about? It's written in first person from a man whose baby son disappeared, and he was blamed for the disappearance / assumed death of the kid. Kid's kind of gone almost without a trace, and he's telling a story of how basically he thinks Krampus did this, and no one believes him, of course, because that's a crazy story. And so these are letters to his estranged wife, sort of claiming his innocence and also explaining to her what he thinks happened, or in his experience what happened. The really good thing about this is, so with any story that's set in the real world but someone is claiming the supernatural, you can never be sure if the narrator is reliable or not. And sometimes I love knowing that the narrator is unreliable. Like, that's a thing that comes around at the end of the book and you realise that the narrator was unreliable the whole time. But I have recently read a couple of books where I still don't know at the end if the narrator was unreliable, because it could go either way. Like, the story could be true, the story they're telling us could be true, or they're delusional. Maybe they did something. So at the end of this book, I think I know what happened. There are some details in here which give the police good reason to think that the dad did it, and also admissions of his own about certain aspects of his relationship with his wife and the kid that make you think, oh wait, oh. But also there is a point that he makes as well which supports his claim of Krampus. So I will say, if you're a parent, this might be quite disturbing to read. I would like to just throw that caveat in on books now where I think parents might be affected, because I didn't realise how much becoming a parent changes a lot of people's tolerance for certain types of horror. My bestie has kids and she would read anything before having kids, and now I know that child related stuff freaks her out. And then a bunch of booktubers I watch are exactly the same. I've watched their taste change since becoming parents. So I just want to throw that out there, that if you're a parent and child related stories don't bother you at all, then you probably would really like this. Or if you're not a parent, you probably like this. General horror fans, I would recommend this too if you're looking for something a little bit seasonal. But yeah, I just want to make people aware that if I had just had a baby, I don't think this is something I would want to pick up. But yeah, I really rated it. It was one of my favourite little books of the year, in fact, just sneaking in right at the end in December there, so just wanted to give that a little mention. And now, the pièce de résistance, because I'm so obsessed with this book that I can't pronounce because I can't speak French. And this is French. I mean, the book's not in French, but the title is, because it's set in France. And I kept saying Le Vacances, which I know isn't right because it would be an O-I-S, wouldn't it? Le Vacancy. Phil Help Me by Phil Sloman. And this is such a cool little story. It's about a couple that go on a romantic little weekend in the French countryside, and they're Airbnb-ing basically, so they're staying at a little cottage on a farm property run by this woman, and her aging mother is also there, and there is some issue in the marriage here. So the wife really wasn't that thrilled with the location for a romantic getaway, but she knows that her husband is trying his best to do something nice, so that's kind of unsaid, like she's sort of trying to enjoy herself for the sake of her husband's feelings. And I think the husband has picked something he thinks they would both enjoy, but they're having very different experiences of this holiday from the get-go. So when they arrive, the husband has no issue with everything, he likes everything, the people are fine. The wife picks up on something quite shrew-like about their host. She doesn't really take to her at all. She notices the way that this woman seems to be talking to her husband a little bit more nicely than her, and things like that. And then on the first night there, the wife sees something really just like unsettling, and it really frightens her, and she's telling her husband, and she's telling him she wants to leave, like something's really off, her intuition is going insane, she wants to go, and he's sort of writing it off as that she had a nightmare or she's stressed, whatever. And the really, really great thing about the story in this book is because this is about a relationship that's kind of like unraveling in time with how the story is escalating, because there is something going on, but there isn't really a bad guy here in the couple. It's not like the husband is a massive dickhead and you just have to, you know, read angrily while the woman is the victim here or anything like that. I was super frustrated for the wife because I believed her, because the number of times that for no apparent reason my spidey senses just said, something's happened with that, or that person isn't good, or whatever, you know, like I'm sure most of you probably get that from time to time, where you have no solid proof of why you have this bad feeling. A lot of people going through bad patches in relationships where they want out. I've had a lot of friends over the years that have not been happy in a relationship. They feel like something is wrong, but there hasn't been an event that they feel justifies a breakup, but they just feel like something's off. And pretty much all of those times they were being cheated on. So, and that's happened to me too. So sometimes your gut just tells you something. I think it's some sort of evolved survival instinct, I assume. But yeah, so she's getting a lot of this, and of course when she sees things and hears things and whatever, and of course when she tries to show it to her husband, it's gone, he can't see it. So she's getting super frustrated and sleep deprived, stressed, and on his end she's just complaining about this place and trying to find any reason to leave. And this is frustrating to him because they've paid this money and they've just got there, and can't we give it a chance, and all of this. So he's not a bad guy. He doesn't believe her, but he doesn't really have any, what she's saying is a little bit outrageous, so it's not a case of why won't he just believe her. You would have a problem believing anyone that would say the stuff she's saying. Oh god, I'm rambling today, sorry. I hope I've explained that okay. So yeah, I really liked the couple and I wanted them to overcome all of this stuff together. This story also deals really well in great archetypes. The wife dubs the Airbnb woman the whore, and then her mother the hag, and I really liked those monikers going forward. It was it gives you a bit of a hint of what kind of subgenre we're in. The wife, of course, I'm not going to give spoilers, but it's fairly obvious. The wife is right, there's something going on here, but by the time she can, you know, turn her husband around on that, they're in quite a lot of trouble. And I guess I don't really want to tell you what the subgenre is, because it's kind of a surprise, and it's a short read, and it was quite fun to figure out that that's what sort of territory we were in. But if you're a general kind of horror fan and you like this sort of claustrophobic, paranoid, isolation kind of horror with other elements, oh man, I wish I could tell you more, but I really don't want to spoil it. But I would recommend this to general horror fans. There is some violence and some nasty stuff in here, but this isn't extreme by any means. So if you're, so when I say general horror reader, I mean people who enjoy horror stories that have a tolerance for, you know, a bit of blood here and there and violence. So yeah, I'd say it's sort of standard on the horror spectrum, but an exceptional story in my opinion. Phil managed to do quite a lot in a really short space of time here, and the escalation of everything is probably my favourite part of how he paced this, because there's no slow part. It's, they get there, something's off, things escalate. It just, the way that my memory is serving me, I recently read this and it just feels like I read a novel. Like, it feels like a whole bigger book. I had such a great time reading it, such a great reading experience. Phil's a really great writer anyway, to be honest. His short fiction is wonderful. I don't know if he's done anything longer than novella length, I'll have to check, but yeah, wholeheartedly recommend that. And How I Learned the Truth About Krampus from Tom Johnstone. So those are just two smaller recommendations for you if you're looking for things to round off your reading lists. And I think that they're both really good. I guess if I have to pick a favourite between the two, I have to say this one, because this is right up my street for horror. But that's not to disparage this one at all. I really, really enjoyed it. In fact, I don't know when the order, I'm filming a few videos today. You might see one or both of these appear on some lists. Subscribe, or else I'm going to cut Kaylee's giant Oodie to smithereens. Bleed!